Tonight, a look at another round of COVID relief as Democrats and Republicans struggle to see eye to eye.
Plus, another big ticket item on the November ballot, legalization of marijuana. Details ahead.
And later, a fundraiser continues to fuel up organizations that help students in need.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening, I'm Tim McGonigal.
And I'm Keely Van Middendorp. First tonight at 10, jobless claims have fallen below 1 million in 1 week for the first time in 5 months. But the White House and lawmakers are still far apart on cutting a deal to help unemployed Americans still struggling during this coronavirus pandemic.
The stalemate over the next round of virus aid now appears likely to drag on for weeks, possibly into September. CBS's Natalie Brand reports from Washington.
For the first time since mid-March, the number of Americans who signed up for jobless benefits has fallen below the 1 million mark. 963,000 people filed new unemployment claims last week, and nearly 15.5 million Americans are receiving jobless benefits, figures far higher than pre-pandemic levels.
How are they going to pay the rent? How are they going to put food on the table?
The pressure remains on congressional leaders and the White House to reach a deal on a new coronavirus relief package. President Trump blamed Democrats for the impasse.
They're asking for $3.5 billion just for the universal mail-in ballots, but they're not willing to make a deal.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi defended that funding in the House-passed bill, saying it's aimed at safe elections amid the pandemic. She also said Thursday Democrats are willing to compromise.
We said we go up $1 trillion and that we could meet in the middle. When they're ready to do that, we'll sit down.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell accused Democratic leaders of playing politics.
They're still rejecting any more relief for anyone unless they get a flood of demands with no relationship to COVID-19.
One of the biggest sticking points has been the additional federal unemployment benefits that Democrats want to keep at $600 a week. The White House is trying to bypass Congress with an executive action on unemployment payments, but it's unclear if that plan can move forward or if it would face legal challenges. Natalie Brent, CBS News, Washington.
And checking the latest coronavirus numbers in Montana, the state is reporting one more death today. A Yellowstone County man in his 60s died. Montana is reporting over 140 new cases since Wednesday. Lewis and Clark County reports 5 new cases and has 55 active cases. Cascade County reporting 3 new cases with 58 active cases. Well, next Tuesday, there will be a special Cascade County Commission meeting regarding mail-in ballots. The commission is being asked to vote, authorizing the election administrator to conduct the November 3rd election through mail-in ballots. We want to be clear, this is not up for public comment. This is within the commissioner's jurisdiction. We will be sure to keep you posted on the outcome. And more than 40,000 registered voters in Lewis and Clark County will get their ballots for the November election by mail. The county commission voted unanimously this morning to switch to a mail ballot election over concerns about COVID-19. Governor Steve Bullock gave counties the authority to adopt mail ballots for the general election. Voters will receive ballots with return postage already included as in June. In addition, the county will offer an option to vote in person from October 2nd through Election Day, though that location has not yet been finalized. During the June primary, all 56 Montana counties adopted mail ballots, but for November, several smaller counties have already said that they'll hold the polling place election. That includes Broadwater County, where officials say they will operate a single polling place in Townsend.
Well, Montanans already have a general election ballot crowded with high-profile races for many statewide offices, and now they have another big issue to decide: legalization of marijuana. It became official today. 2 initiatives that would legalize recreational marijuana in Montana will be on the November 3rd ballot for voters to decide. Initiative 190, if passed, would legalize the possession and use of limited amounts of marijuana for those 21 and older. It also has a companion measure, Constitutional Initiative 118, which is needed to allow the 21-year-old age restriction in law. Without it, adults 18 to 20 could not be banned from possessing marijuana. I-190 also would levy a 20% tax on the sale of non-medical marijuana in Montana. Supporters of the measure say that will generate $48 million a year, by 2025. Well, the Roosevelt County Sheriff's Office is trying to locate a person in connection with the kidnapping of an infant earlier today in Wolf Point. According to the sheriff's office, at about 3 p.m., Agnes Buckles, also known as Agnes Little, allegedly took the child in Wolf Point and left in an unknown direction. She was last seen driving a white 2007 Dodge Caravan with Montana license plate CRF 716. Buckles is 57 years old with brown eyes and long brown hair. She's approximately 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighs about 130 pounds. No other information has been released at this point. If you have any information on her whereabouts, you're asked to contact the sheriff's office immediately by calling 911. They caution that Buckles should not be approached. The sheriff's office says an Amber Alert is expected to be issued shortly. And turning now to our forecast, it was a sunny but cooler day in north central Montana. Elizabeth Copeland joins us now with more.
It's a beautiful evening out there across north central Montana where the clouds are now moving out. We're seeing a lot more of the blue sky. This shot taken just a few hours ago in the capital city, where this morning, very different story. It was still chilly, but we had a lot more of those clouds settling in. So clearing skies overnight means temperatures are going to drop. We're still quite a bit colder in north central and northeast Montana than we were this time yesterday, with temperatures ranging anywhere between 5 and 10 degrees below where we just were, again, as that cold front basically moved through this time yesterday evening. So Helena, for tomorrow's forecast, going to warm up quite quickly, as will north central Montana. So we'll start out in the 60s, but quickly climb to the low 80s. Only going to top out in those low 80s tomorrow afternoon, which is still well below average. So even though we see those blue skies throughout our Friday afternoon, no rain in store for us there, we will see that cooler air stick around for one more day. But we do have a big warm up we're going to track for the weekend coming up in our extended forecast.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Well, there are lots of unanswered questions about the upcoming school year. One of them being how many students will have food and a roof over their heads.
In Great Falls today, United Way of Cascade County held its annual Stuff the Bus campaign, raising money and gathering school supplies for students in our community.
As MTN's Zach Shermley explains, the help is needed now more than ever.
Question, is there freshman orientation and are masks required for recess and PE? What about special education students and masks? When will high school schedules be ready?
There are lots of questions about the upcoming school year here in Great Falls.
How can you require masks during PE and not sports? Is there a freshman orientation? Do we know?
Superintendent Tom Moore holding a Facebook live stream today, hoping
Let me get that answer for you.
to provide some clarity. One big question remains, though, for the many high poverty and food insecure students in Cascade County.
By the end of last year, a lot of the school food pantries had completely run out of supplies.
United Way of Cascade County holding its annual Stuff the Bus campaign today to raise money and donations for the students who need it most. It's a tradition going back 11 years, meant to help the large percentage of high-poverty students in Great Falls Public Schools. The school district seeing unprecedented need this year. Here in Cascade County, for every 5 local students, 2 of them live in poverty. Every school has a food pantry but one, and district officials tell MTN that the amount of homeless students in recent years has increased. But with the pandemic, those needs are becoming even greater. Volunteers took donations for pencils, paper, notebooks, and yes, masks, which will be required in Great Falls Public Schools after a mandate issued by Governor Bullock yesterday. By the end of last year, there were 475 homeless students in the Great Falls Public School District, 93 of them unaccompanied, which means they're completely on their own. GFPS seeing a steady increase in homelessness over the past decade. The latest available numbers from GFPS also show the number of students on free and reduced lunch has been climbing.
It just highlighted the needs of our families and our communities within our community was great and was growing even faster than at times we could plan.
Lance Boyd, the district's newly appointed Director of Student Services, says despite all the challenges, he's grateful for one thing.
The nice part about it, though, is the community support that we get and have in Great Falls is amazing.
In Great Falls, Zach Shermley, MTN News.
And stay tuned. We'll have more of the 10 o'clock news coming up right after this break.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
And welcome back to the 10 o'clock news. 100 years ago today, Pete Johnson opened the Johnson Hotel in Great Falls, a building that still stands tall in the heart of downtown.
MTN's Lindsay Hyatt spoke with grandchildren of the building's original owners as well as a current tenant to find out the story behind this historical 5-story structure.
The lobby was huge.
And then the bar was back there.
100 years ago, the Johnson Building wasn't just a hotel, but a temporary home for local travelers and the Johnson grandchildren.
We were here all the time, running throughout the building, upstairs, downstairs. They put us in a special room where nobody else would rent.
404.
Yeah.
In its century-long residence downtown, the building has taken on many uses. First a hotel in 1920, then a 3-story restaurant housing retail space and 2 apartments in 1968, to the business, retail, and residential hub it is today.
We built it out of concrete. We knew it would be here for a long, long, long time.
Because of the building's long history in Great Falls, current resident Bill Salonen decided to dig into its past.
I was just curious, so I started doing some research at the History Museum. And then we connected with the Johnson family,
who helped him create a timeline of the Johnson Building's history and learn more about the building's founder.
Well, I think the thing that I appreciated the most was just who Pete Johnson was.
A Montanan, a county commissioner, and a waymaker in his community.
He was a pillar. He was a pillar of the community.
A pillar who left behind another strong structure to stand in his place, providing a space for the community to relive old memories and make new ones for centuries to come.
I run into people all the time in Great Falls that used to come to Shell's Townhouse or used to come down from the High Line as a family to stay here at the hotel and to shop. And so I think just the association that our community has with the hotel itself is really meaningful.
In Great Falls, Lindsay Hyatt, MTN News.
Earlier today, community members gathered for the unveiling of new details surrounding the Milwaukee Depot project, a downtown housing project in the works set to begin this fall. Named for its neighbor, the Milwaukee Station, these apartments will offer the advantage of being located near some of Great Falls' biggest attractions, the River's Edge Trail, Missouri River, and downtown Great Falls. And the project will also feature spaces open to the general public, like a coffee bar and a gym. Big Sky Select Properties principal Brian Linseth described these units as a place to live, work, and play. He added that while construction isn't anticipated to end until late 2021 or early 2022, the facility would offer an ideal space to work from home should Great Falls residents need to do so at that time.
One of our specific goals is to provide a place where people could live, work, and play, even in an environment affected by COVID. So we've taken great care to make each of our units at least a 1-bedroom, include spaces that would be amenable for people working from home.
As that project progresses, Big Sky Select Properties hopes to have more resources available to the public, indicating what the final product will look like.
Skies clear overnight, meaning temperatures drop to the 40s and low 50s. We do have a warm-up in store we'll talk about coming up in our extended forecast.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Chief Meteorologist Elizabeth Copeland.
Welcome back on this Thursday evening. We're tracking some drier air moving in. Not to say we don't have some dry air in the area right now, but looking off just to the west, closer to Washington, Idaho, and really northwest Montana, there's that drier air moving in. Those clouds, all those showers are going to move off to the east. Really the only areas we see that rain right now are closer to the Fort Peck, just right south of Fort Peck, and then really through Fergus County where just rain is falling. All those thunderstorms kind of holding steady really closer to Bozeman. So a lot of this is just that light to moderate rain falling tonight. Not a lot of thunderstorm activity. We didn't have enough heat really to get those thunderstorms going this afternoon. So otherwise, we're going to see a few clouds kind of linger right across Helena, Great Falls for now. But again, as the night progresses, we're going to see a lot more of the clear skies. This means temperatures are going to drop pretty quickly. When we have those clear skies overnight, that means temperatures are allowed to drop. All that heat escapes back up in the upper atmosphere, and we're holding steady in the 60s right now, mid 60s for the northeast corner. Otherwise, we're going to still drop about 20 degrees, even 30 degrees overnight. We're going to hit those 40s and 50s. So it's another chilly one out there. So if you don't have AC, maybe cracking open the windows just for a few hours before we hit those 40s. It's going to get cold tonight. It's going to be a chilly start tomorrow. Now, speaking of temperatures, for the past 2 weeks, we've been kind of riding right above and below that average line, which is right about those mid to upper 80s this time of year. That's what that normal line is. But today, we were 10 degrees below that normal, so we were only topping out in the mid 70s in most areas. Northeast corner hit those upper 70s, low 80s, but otherwise a much cooler day because that cold front that came through yesterday, bringing in really all that colder air from the north, and that's going to settle in not only for this evening, but tomorrow as well. So we'll still stay in those blues tomorrow as cooler temperatures stick around. But other than that, it's a beautiful night to get out there and enjoy those 70s and 60s. The sun setting across Great Falls just a while ago. Don't have too much of that wind. We have some breezy conditions, about 20-mile-per-hour gusts earlier this evening. Otherwise, it's going to stay in those 60s for a while before again dropping to those low 50s in Great Falls. That dew point, 28 degrees. That's very low. That's a good sign of that dry air moving in, kicking out all those clouds and those showers with it. So for our hiking forecast, getting out there, maybe enjoying a north central northeast Montana hike, we're going to see a lot more of the warmer temperatures later on in the weekend. So we do have, again, another day of cooler than average temperatures as we drop to the low 80s tomorrow. And then we're going to be right back in those upper 80s by Saturday afternoon. So that's that warm up that's going to be in store for us as we track it in our 7-day forecast. 80s on Friday, Saturday 85. So still a pleasant afternoon on Saturday with a lot more of that sunshine. The first time we hit the 90s again will be on Sunday afternoon, and then the warmest day of the week still trends to be Monday. So 95 on Monday afternoon, another hot one for us Monday and Tuesday. Going to stay in those 90s on Wednesday, but that's going to be our next round of moisture moving into the forecast. Will be Wednesday night into Thursday morning, where that's going to take a big temperature drop from those 90s right back down to those 80s in Great Falls. The capital city will be at 79 tomorrow, another much cooler day. A few clouds here and there in the morning. We warm up to 85 on Saturday, hitting the 90s by Sunday as well, and then holding steady in those low 90s Monday, Tuesday before the rain moves in for us a little earlier on Tuesday afternoon through Wednesday evening.
Coming up next, it's not just football that Cats and Grizz fans will have to wait until spring to watch.
Details from the Big Sky Conference are next.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
And welcome back to the 10 o'clock news. Goodbye fall college football. Days after the Big Sky Conference announced that it would postpone its fall schedule to the spring, the Frontier Conference has now followed suit.
Frontier Conference Commissioner Kent Paulson stated in a release that the league will join dozens across the country in preparing for a spring schedule. Despite originally losing its 3 out-of-state teams, the Frontier planned to continue with a 5-team, 8-game schedule this fall, but stated, quote, administrators have diligently continued to evaluate high-risk sports and have exhausted every resource available in making this decision on Thursday. You can find more details on the cancellation of the Frontier Conference's fall football schedule at montanasports.com, and stick with MTN Sports for more on this developing story.
And last week, the Big Sky Conference voted to postpone its upcoming football season until the spring. Now other fall sports in the conference are also following suit. After a recommendation from athletic directors, the conference's President's Council met yesterday to confirm the decision. Last month, the conference said it would delay the start of fall sports until at least September 18th. The decision impacts all Big Sky sports that compete in the fall, both for their championship season. That includes men's and women's cross country, soccer, and volleyball. It also affects sports that compete for their non-championship segment, and that includes men's and women's golf, softball, and men's and women's tennis. And continuing our coverage from the Big Sky Conference's latest announcement, MTN's Jack Ginsburg caught up with those coaches at UM and reports.
On Thursday morning, the conference announced the move, meaning Grizz soccer, volleyball, golf, and cross country will now attempt to play in the spring season as well. While it may have been a decision many saw coming, both the soccer and volleyball head coaches here at the University of Montana are happy they finally have some direction.
I think just hearing it out loud and sort of seeing the writing on the wall in a more official way, rather than focusing on it as a loss or as some sort of like heavy feeling in the moment, it also made me more excited to just be able to move forward.
We all just want direction and leadership. Tell me what to do, I'll do it. That's what our student athletes want, that's what we wanted. You've told us what to do, fine, here we go. So can't whine about it, just got to accept it.
Regardless of the move, both coaches believe it was the right decision and avoided the potential of a fall season being shut down midway through the season.
There were parts of me that just wanted to play, and I think large parts of our athletes that wanted to get out there and do what they do. But I think when your perspective widens and you see the challenges across the national landscape, there wasn't a lot of clear ways and paths to where it was going to be feasible, especially with the amount of testing that we would have to do. So I trust the decisions that have been made, and I feel like safety has been the #1 priority for all the decision makers, and they have a lot of information that I don't, and so I trust their decisions, and I feel like just having a decision gives us more confidence than anything.
However, the push to spring can majorly affect some programs. Luckily for volleyball and soccer here, they have no one graduating in winter. But if spring doesn't work out, it could get very messy.
We are in a spot where you got Claire Howard, who's close to setting the Big Sky record for shutouts. She's already in grad school. Does she want to come back? Yes. Can we financially afford to bring her back? I don't know. And so it's we have a list of people that could potentially want to come back. Whether or not we could actually make it work is a completely separate question.
We'll continue to update you on any of these fall sports that are pushed to the spring, and we could expect to hear a decision on winter sports in the next coming weeks or even month or two. Reporting in Missoula, Jack Ginsburg, MTN Sports.
Well, just days before the First Montana High School Association's first sanctioned sporting event since last March, more changes are hitting the high school sports scene. MHSA's executive board approving a handful of proposals today, including Class AA canceling its non-conference schedule in all sports and holding golf tournaments to one-day events only. That decision could postpone the beginning of competitions, but also provide some extra time to evaluate moving forward.
It allows those schools to have some time to make sure to say, okay, where are we at? Maybe have an extra week of practice. Instead of pushing that too in these days and times, that's probably a good thing. And then also to make sure that they can work like with their local health departments and that on regard to fans and fan attendance.
Other classifications were also approved canceling their non-conference schedules if they choose, while the MHSA will also require facial coverings of all players, coaches, and officials not currently competing. You can find the complete list of past proposals and hear more from the MHSA at montanasports.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
A warm-up is coming. It doesn't move in until later on in the weekend, though. 81 tomorrow in Great Falls before hitting the 90s for the first time again for a while, really. Sunday afternoon. Plenty of sunshine in our forecast, though. And then Monday still is the warmest day of the week at 95. And then we're going to see a few shower chances move in for at least the midweek mark of next week. So we have a dry and warm weekend ahead of us. A warm start to next week. A few showers move in Tuesday night and Wednesday.
I think you broke your tire.
Yeah, I did.
Well, mating season is beginning for bison in Yellowstone National Park, and that means that males can get a little aggressive.
Something some park visitors learned the hard way during a recent visit. The couple was able to drive out of the park and get their tire fixed in West Yellowstone. The shop shared the video and photo of the punctured tire. They can move pretty fast.
Right. Yeah, that's all the time we have tonight at 10. Thanks so much for watching.
Good night.